What does it really mean when a woman chooses to live alone? What happens when a woman no longer waits to be chosen? When she stops playing the game of availability, of readiness, of expectation? What does it truly mean when a woman chooses solitude over companionship? Silence over chatter, her own company over that of another. We live in a world where the image of a woman standing alone often invites discomfort. Her aloneness is dissected, labeled, judged. Some say she must be heartbroken. Others assume she's bitter, cold, unapproachable. The absence of a man by her side becomes, in the eyes of many, a failure of some sort, a failure to attract, a failure to keep, a failure to be loved. But what if that absence is not a sign of loss, but of evolution everywhere, across cities, cultures, and continents? More and more women are living alone. They are no longer waiting for someone to complete their life story. They are writing their own chapters, not out of anger, not from rejection, but from a deep inner knowing that being alone is not the same as being lonely. And yet, society isn't ready for this shift. We are still conditioned to see a woman's life as incomplete without a romantic partner. Her worth is too often measured by the presence of a man. We ask questions like, is she seeing someone, or why hasn't she settled down, without realizing that these questions carry assumptions. Assumptions that her aloneness must be temporary, or worse, involuntary. This is not just about lifestyle, it's about identity. A woman choosing to live alone challenges long-standing myths. She disrupts a narrative that has been passed down through generations. That a woman is either a wife, a mother, or someone still waiting to become one. That fulfillment comes from being chosen. That safety comes from being held. That purpose comes from serving someone else's needs. But what if she has discovered another path? What if she has found within herself the kind of love no one else could ever give? What if her solitude is not a wound, but a sanctuary? This choice to live alone, to belong only to oneself, is often mistaken for sadness. People see the empty side of the bed, the quiet dinners, the lack of updates about relationships and the modern, and they imagine something missing. They project emptiness onto what might actually be wholeness. Because sometimes the woman who walks alone has simply learned to walk away from noise. She has felt the chaos of being misunderstood. She has carried the weight of pleasing others, of bending to fit into molds that were never made for her. And one day she decides to no longer live that way, not because she gave up, but because she woke up. There is a quiet revolution happening. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. It simply lives, breathes, and chooses differently. Women are no longer measuring their value through validation. They are not waiting for someone to unlock their worth. They have found the key within. Still, this kind of woman confuses many. People wonder how she fills her days. They ask if she is truly happy. They search for cracks in her confidence, thinking they will find regret. But often, what they find is peace, a kind of peace that cannot be bought, borrowed, or given. It is earned, and it is sacred. So the question remains, is she alone because she could not find love? Or is she alone because she found something greater, something steadier than affection? Something deeper than romance, something eternal as herself. To understand women who live alone, we must first let go of the idea that aloneness equals lack. We must stop looking for absence and begin seeing presence, her power, her path. Because when a woman chooses to live alone, she is not rejecting others. She is returning to herself. And in that return, she may find everything she was told she could only receive from someone else. Why does society fear women who don't need men? There is something deeply unsettling, almost threatening about a woman who does not need a man. Not just romantically, not emotionally, not economically, not socially. A woman who stands firmly on her own ground, not waiting to be chosen, not asking for permission, not seeking approval. This kind of woman disrupts the order. She confuses the script. She walks out of the roles that were written for her, and she refuses to play along for centuries. Society has constructed a blueprint of what a woman should be. She is expected to be nurturing, agreeable, attractive, and most importantly, connected to a man. From fairy tales to advertisements, from religion to family dinner tables, the message has been quietly and constantly repeated. A woman's fulfillment comes through union, through giving, through sacrifice, through belonging to someone else. But the independent woman rewrites that narrative. She does not build her identity around someone else's story. She does not wait for a ring, a title, or a compliment to feel whole. She does not follow the path paved by fear of being alone. Instead, she follows something deeper. And that's precisely why society feels uneasy. This unease is not always loud. It shows up in questions disguised as concern. Don't you want to settle down? Isn't it time to start a family? It hides in jokes, in silence, in sideways glances. It reveals itself when people speak about her with a tone of confusion, pity, or quiet resentment. Because she is not fitting into the mold, and molds give people comfort. There is a reason why the world prefers predictable roles. Predictability offers control. When people behave in expected ways, it confirms that the system works. But when a woman steps out of her assigned part and writes her own script, she exposes the fragility of that system. Her independence shines a light on how arbitrary many of these roles truly are. She becomes, in a way, a mirror. And mirrors are dangerous to those who are afraid to look at themselves. When she chooses to live alone, not as an accident but as a decision, she confronts others with questions they may not want to answer. What if love is not the only path to purpose? What if needing someone is not the same as loving them? What if dependence is not romantic, but simply learned helplessness? Her freedom challenges our definitions. If she doesn't need a man, what does that say about masculinity? If she finds meaning without marriage, what does that say about the stories we tell ourselves about fulfillment? If she is enough on her own, then maybe many of us have been chasing illusions all along. And that's the real fear, not her solitude, but the implications of it. She represents a possibility we've been taught to avoid. A life that is full without being coupled, a soul that is sovereign, a joy that isn't transactional. Society doesn't know what to do with that kind of woman. Because she cannot be controlled. She cannot be seduced by superficial offers. She doesn't need to be rescued. She doesn't even need to be seen. She sees herself. And when a person sees themselves clearly, they become unpredictable. They become ungovernable. They can no longer be manipulated by shame, by tradition, or by fear of judgment. They move differently, speak differently, choose differently, and that difference exposes just how much of our lives may have been shaped by compromise. It is easier to believe that a woman who lives alone is incomplete than to question why we tie completion to coupling. It is more comfortable to assume she is bitter than to admit she may be free. And so society clings to its old language. She must be lonely. She must be unlucky. She must be wounded. Anything but whole. But what if we're wrong? What if she is not the one lost in confusion? What if we are? What if her silence is not emptiness but depth? What if her solitude is not punishment but liberation? Sometimes we fear what we do not understand. But more often, we fear what we secretly desire but have been taught to avoid. Her life, lived outside the norm, forces us to look at our own. Are we judging her, or are we afraid of what she awakens in us because the woman who does not need a man does not exist to make others comfortable? She is not here to soften the blow of our limitations. She exists to remind us that freedom is not found in permission. It is found in the courage to be enough without needing to prove it. Are they truly lonely, or living in a world only they understand? It's easy to assume that a woman who lives alone must be lonely. The empty apartment, the quiet evenings, the solo dinners. Society reads these signs like warning labels, as if they point to emotional vacancy. But loneliness is not about the absence of people. It is about the absence of connection. And connection has nothing to do with how full your calendar is or how many texts you receive. It has everything to do with whether or not your life aligns with your soul. Carl Jung spoke of a concept called individuation. It is the journey of becoming whole, of peeling back the layers of who you were told to be, to reveal the truth of who you are. For many women, this path begins not with the presence of others, but with their absence. It begins in silence, in stillness, in solitude, not as punishment, but as practice. To individuate is to withdraw from the noise of the world, not because you hate it, but because you're trying to hear something deeper. It's not isolation. It's intentional separation. It is stepping away from the echo chamber of other people's expectations and learning to speak in your own voice. It's the difference between being cut off and being called inward. There is a crucial distinction between social isolation and spiritual solitude. The first drains you, the second nourishes you. One leaves you feeling invisible, the other makes you finally visible to yourself. And the woman who chooses this solitude is often not running from connection. She is refining it. She is creating space so that the next connection, if it ever comes, will be true. Imagine her like a mountaineer. With each step upward, the noise fades. Fewer companions, fewer signs, fewer instructions, and the air gets thinner, the road less traveled. But she keeps going, not because she is lost, but because she is ascending. Most people live in the valley. It is safe there, crowded, familiar, and filled with distractions. But the summit demands something different. It asks for presence, for awareness, for discipline, and she is willing to give all of it. It is not that she doesn't long for others. It is that she no longer accepts what is shallow. The small talk, the false intimacy, the relationships built on fear, convenience, or escape. She has tasted the quiet and discovered its power. It has taught her that aloneness is not the absence of love. It is the preparation for a higher form of it. This is the paradox. The woman who seems the most distant may actually be the most connected. Not to social networks or casual companionship, but to something deeper. She sees the world with clear eyes because she is no longer trying to fit into it. She watches the movements of others not with envy, but with clarity. While many are chasing validation, she is chasing truth. Sometimes the most grounded person is the one who appears to be drifting. And the one most in control is the one who no longer grasps for anything. That is her power. She doesn't seek to impress. She doesn't argue to prove. She doesn't follow to belong. Her belonging is internal, rooted, real. There is a quiet intelligence in her gaze, a knowing that cannot be explained in words. Perhaps it was earned through pain, perhaps through failure, perhaps through simply sitting alone long enough to hear her own breath. But whatever its source, it has become her compass, and the rest of the world, spinning in circles, often mistakes her stillness for stagnation. But she is not stuck. She is stable. She is not frozen. She is focused. She is not waiting. She is walking her path. And if it leads her into the wilderness, so be it. Because the wild is honest, and she would rather face the wild truth than live a polished lie. Here's the twist. Maybe she's not the one detached from reality. Maybe the rest of us are. Maybe it is not she who has lost touch, but we who have lost courage. Courage to slow down, to unplug, to be alone with ourselves without reaching for distraction. Maybe we envy her more than we admit, because in a world that tells us we must always be surrounded, always be liked, always be seen, there is something radically defiant about the woman who chooses none of that. She does not isolate to hide. She retreats to remember. And in doing so, she may not be separating from the world. She may simply be seeing it more clearly than anyone else. The invisible wounds no one sees. Not every woman who lives alone started that way. Some chose it. Others were pushed there, sometimes gently, sometimes violently, through betrayal, through manipulation, through the slow erosion of self that comes from trying too hard to be what someone else wants. Love, for many, was not a shelter. It was a storm. And when it passed, it left more damage than anyone could see. There are wounds that bleed quietly. They don't leave scars on the skin. They don't show up in conversations, but they live in the silence after a phone call that never came. They breathe in the quiet ache of an unanswered question. They sit at the dinner table where there used to be 2 chairs, and now only one is used. These are the wounds that do not demand attention, but they never fully disappear. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the part of us we reject, deny, or disown. It is where we hide everything we fear would make us unlovable. Anger, shame, fear, desperation, vulnerability. For many women, especially those shaped by expectations to be pleasing, gentle, agreeable, the shadow grows in silence, because the world teaches them to smile even when they're hurting, to forgive even when trust has been shattered, to stay quiet when their soul is screaming. But the shadow does not disappear just because we ignore it. It waits. It gathers strength. And eventually, it shows itself not always as rage, but often as anxiety, numbness, or disconnection. The woman who lives alone is not always escaping others. Sometimes she is finally confronting herself, not the curated version the world applauds, but the full raw truth she had to bury to survive. Solitude, then, is not just a condition. It is a crucible. It tests what you're made of. Because when no one is around to distract you, you begin to hear everything inside you. The questions you avoided, the feelings you numbed, the truths you swallowed, they begin to surface, and it can be terrifying. Imagine a room with the lights turned off for years. Dust has gathered. The air is thick. You don't know what's hiding in the corners. But you step inside. You close the door, and you decide not to run. That is what it feels like to sit with your shadow. You light a small candle. You begin to see what's there, the hurt, the fear, the mistakes, the unmet needs. And slowly, you start to realize that nothing in that room can destroy you if you choose to face it. Many never do. They keep the lights off. They keep others around to distract them. They stay busy, loud, entangled. But the woman who chooses solitude often chooses something much harder. She chooses honesty. She chooses the mirror, and then sometimes she chooses the pain of healing over the comfort of pretending. And this is not weakness. It is strength in its rawest form. To face what you've been running from. To hold space for emotions that no one ever taught you how to process. To sit in the discomfort of your own story. Not to be a victim of it, but to finally become its author. The journey through the shadow is not linear. There are no guidebooks, no timelines. One day you feel like progress, the next like collapse. But each time you stay instead of flee, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Not the perfect parts, the real parts. And realness is where healing begins. Sometimes people look at women who live alone and wonder why they seem so guarded, why they keep their world small, why they are careful with their time, their energy, their heart. What they don't see is the journey that shaped that caution. They don't see the betrayals that taught her silence, the control that disguised itself as care, the confusion that wore the mask of love. Behind her quiet life may be a history that took years to untangle, and now that she has found herself again, she protects that space like a sanctuary. Not because she is bitter, but because she has finally learned the cost of self-betrayal. So no, being alone is not always peaceful, but it is honest. It brings every unhealed wound to the surface. It forces the darkness into the light, and in that light, something extraordinary happens. The woman who was once fragmented begins to gather herself again, piece by piece, shadow by shadow, until she no longer fears the room with no lights. Because now, she carries the light within her. The healed woman no longer needs a man to survive. There is a shift that happens after a woman has walked through her own darkness. After she has sat in the silence, faced her shadow, and reclaimed the pieces of herself that were once scattered across the relationships she gave too much to. When the wounds begin to close and the noise fades, she does not emerge as she once was. She is not softer in the way people expect. She is stronger in the way they never saw coming. This strength does not roar. It hums. It doesn't seek revenge or validation. It simply exists with quiet certainty. She is no longer shaped by fear of being alone. She has seen the worst that solitude can reveal and stayed anyway. She has faced her doubts without distraction, her insecurities without flattery, her pain without a pair of arms to fall into. And in doing so, she has discovered something sacred, herself. This woman does not need a man to fix her. She does not hate men. She does not resent love. She has simply grown past the need for dependence. She no longer looks for someone to complete her because she has realized she was never incomplete. The emptiness she once felt was not the lack of someone else. It was the absence of herself. Carl Jung spoke of the animus, the masculine energy within the feminine psyche. It is the part of a woman that holds reason, willpower, direction, clarity, strength. For much of history, women were encouraged to develop only their nurturing side. But the woman who heals awakens her animus. She learns to lead herself, to think clearly, to make hard decisions without collapsing, to set boundaries and hold them, to carry herself with dignity even when no one is watching. This internal balance transforms her. She is no longer ruled by emotion alone. She can feel deeply, but she does not drown. She can care without losing herself. She can give without erasing her own needs. And most importantly, she can walk away not because she is heartless, but because her heart finally belongs to her. She becomes full, not because someone poured love into her, but because she stopped leaking herself to everyone who knocked. She stopped looking outward for a mirror. She became her own reflection. She learned to admire herself not with vanity but with quiet respect. This kind of wholeness is rare, and with it comes an unexpected twist. Many men do not know what to do with a woman like this. She is not impressed by game, not enticed by status, not dependent on affection to feel worthy. She cannot be baited with promises of protection, because she has already protected herself through her own fires. She cannot be controlled with approval, because she has already approved of who she is. To some men, this is intimidating, not because she is cruel, but because she does not need them. And for those who have built their value on being needed, her self-sufficiency feels like rejection. They don't know how to love a woman who does not require saving. They don't know how to relate without being superior. They feel unseen, not because she refuses to see them, but because she refuses to shrink to make them feel bigger. This is the irony of healing. The more whole a woman becomes, the fewer people are willing to meet her where she stands. Not because she's too much, but because she's no longer willing to be less. And yet, she does not harden. She does not build walls to punish. She builds boundaries to protect. She still believes in love, but she no longer begs for it. She still opens her heart, but only to those who knock with respect. She still shares her life, but not out of fear of being alone, only from the desire to walk beside someone, not behind. There is a deep grace in her now, a self-trust that cannot be borrowed. She wakes up each morning knowing that whatever happens, she has herself, and that is enough. So no, she doesn't need a man to survive. That doesn't mean she doesn't want love. But if it comes, it must meet her at her level. Not to complete her, not to carry her, but to walk beside her, in step with the woman she has fought to become. Because once a woman knows her own worth, once she has touched her own power, once she has claimed her life as her own, she will never again settle for anything that asks her to abandon it. True maturity from muse to guide. There is a quiet transformation that happens in a woman's life, one that does not always announce itself, but is as profound as any rite of passage. She moves from being the maiden, the innocent, the dreamer, the one who longs to be seen, to something far deeper. Through love, through loss, through truth, she evolves. The path is not linear, but it is archetypal, from maiden to lover, and then to the wise woman. As the maiden, she seeks connection, affirmation, and meaning through the eyes of others. She is the muse, the ideal, the one who hopes to be chosen. There is beauty in her openness, in her desire to love and be loved. But often, this stage is marked by dependence. Her sense of self is still forming, and so she mirrors what others reflect back to her. Then comes the lover, the woman who gives herself fully, who falls, who breaks, who feels everything without filter. She explores her desire, her longing, her fears. She tastes the sweetness and the sorrow of intimacy. And it is through the heartbreaks and awakenings of this stage that she begins to detach her worth from how others treat her. She starts to recognize that love cannot substitute for self-knowledge. And finally, she becomes the wise woman. Not because she has aged, but because she has awakened. She no longer lives for someone else's validation. She no longer offers her soul in exchange for attention. She lives from within. She has met the sacred silence of being alone and found power in it. Her life is not built around being seen, but around being true. This woman no longer needs to be the princess in someone's fairy tale. She is not waiting in a tower. She has burned the script and built a sanctuary instead, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. She has transformed from the adorned girl in a flowing gown to the healer in the woods, quiet, mysterious, and whole. The world may not understand her. She does not sparkle in the usual ways. But her depth calls out to those who are ready to listen, not with noise, but with presence. The wise woman is not concerned with attention. She is concerned with alignment. Her power is not in how loudly she speaks, but in how deeply she sees. She is not a lighthouse screaming through the fog. She is the mountain that remains unmoved, the tree that bends but does not break, the fire that warms but does not burn. She doesn't attract through seduction. She attracts through stillness. Her energy is not about proving or persuading, it is about being. And those who are drawn to her come not for entertainment, but for truth. She is no longer the woman who seeks a role to fit into. She creates space around her and invites others to step in without losing themselves. She doesn't ask for admiration. She offers reflection. She doesn't demand loyalty. She commands respect through how she carries herself. This transformation is not loud, it happens slowly, like roots growing deeper. It happens in moments of silence, in decisions to walk away, in days when she chooses her own voice over the world's. And once it happens, she can never go back, not because she's too proud, but because she's too awake. The woman who has become the guide does not impose her wisdom. She simply lives it. And in her presence, others remember parts of themselves they had forgotten. She does not need a stage. Her life is her message. Her gaze is her language. Her peace is her invitation. She is no longer the girl hoping to be chosen. She is the woman who chooses with intention, with clarity, with depth. And if she walks beside you, it is not because she needs to. It is because your soul resonates with hers. That, more than anything, is the mark of a woman who has become herself. What she truly seeks is not love, but soul resonance. For the healed woman, love is no longer a pursuit. It is not a missing piece she searches for, not a lifeline she clings to, not a fairy tale she waits to unfold. She does not seek someone to rescue her from solitude, because she has already rescued herself. She knows now that love cannot complete what was never incomplete. It can only enhance what is already whole. She does not crave attachment. She craves alignment. She no longer falls for chemistry that lacks depth, or passion that burns fast but fades even faster. She is drawn to energy that is steady, grounded, aware, to eyes that see her, not as an object or a role, but as a mirror of their own inner work. This kind of woman does not settle for half-hearted connections. She has learned that loneliness in the presence of the wrong person is far more painful than peace in solitude. She has no space left for one-sided giving, for emotional immaturity, for the subtle games of ego and insecurity. Her love is too honest now, too rare, too costly to waste. She seeks a different kind of bond, one that resonates in silence, one that moves beneath words, a connection where both people arrive as themselves, unmasked, unafraid, unapologetically whole. It is not about being needed. It is about being met. This is why many relationships no longer reach her. Not because she is closed, but because she is clear. She does not entertain potential that has not been realized. She does not hold space for those who have not held space for themselves. She doesn't need someone to complete her. She needs someone who has completed their own journey, or at the very least, is walking it with integrity. And here is the twist. If you are fortunate enough to cross paths with a woman like this, understand something clearly. She does not need you. She will never stay out of fear, dependence, or desperation. She will not mold herself to fit into your world. But if she chooses you, it is because something in your soul echoes her own. It is because she sees your depth, your self-awareness, your willingness to meet her where she stands. She will not ask you to save her. She will not allow you to dim her light. But if you can walk beside her without trying to lead, without needing to follow, then you may witness a love unlike any other. A love that is free, rooted, and rare, because she is not lonely, she is whole. And the man who meets her must be too.